Yeah, because it was a gift. It was a gift for me being able to prepare this talk for you. So, welcome. It's so nice to be here with you today. I don't know, as far as you might have seen this in the bio online or something, but I'm a high school teacher right now. I serve at our community in Mankato, Minnesota, where we work in the parish of Saints Peter and Paul, youth ministry, directing religious education, help with the liturgy and the sacristy. But we also have a very special mission here in Minnesota. Our male branch has a minor seminary, a high school minor seminary, where young men from 7th grade to their senior year come and live in community like a boarding school, except with the thought that God might be calling them to the missionary priesthood. And so they live together, they work together, they play together, and our sisters provide most of the education. We're responsible for the school aspect of the minor seminary. Yeah, so are there any teachers by any chance in the room? Yeah, teachers. If anyone is a teacher or who has had the opportunity to teach in a Catholic school, you might know that at any given moment, you will be asked to teach something that you have no previous experience in. It's like, I've learned in education now, that's a common experience. But as teachers, we are professional learners. So this past year, we decided to add rhetoric to our curriculum. We have a classical curriculum in the school, and we were going to start a rhetoric program, and well, my name came up out of that. I had some free hours, and so Mother Faith, you will be teaching rhetoric this year. So, okay. So I spend 1 hour a week with 8 teenage boys, teaching them how to speak in public and write speeches and understand how to communicate the word more effectively. And one of the first points I had to teach them was that when preparing to speak in public, you need to know your audience. You can imagine this is very difficult for high school boys because they can't think outside of their stomachs yet. Their only awareness is self-awareness of hunger. Anyway, but when Rachel asked me to prepare this talk for all of you, I thought, okay, well, who is my audience? And that's where it got a little bit difficult because I didn't know who you would be. I mean, the advertisement was for women of all ages. It wasn't just young adult women or moms or grandmothers or just women. And so I realized that I needed to think of all of you and to say something about receiving the gift of who you are that would strike a chord in the heart of every woman. I mean, only with God's help, of course. And so I began to think of all of the women who have nurtured me in my life and who have allowed me to nurture them and to be part of their journey. From my first 72-year-old catechist in Washington, D.C., Shirley Austin, to dear mothers who I became great friends with in Italy when I was living there, who were taking care of their own mothers and children at the same time, to young women who I've accompanied through religious life, and young women who I've accompanied to their vocation in early matrimony. So this talk is dedicated in a special way to all the women who have nurtured me and made me a part of their journey. And my prayer is that today we can, by the Lord's grace, enter into the theology of the gift, understanding God's purpose in giving, and become more capable of receiving the gift of ourselves so that we can receive God's greatest gift, His Son, in a more profound way for the salvation of the world. So I'd like to pray, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Mary, Mother of the Incarnate Word, pray for us. I might need a bottle of water if that's possible. Is there one? As a teacher, I talk a lot. So I wanted to start this talk with an anecdote. I entered religious life in 2003, few weeks before the weekend of July 31st of 2003, Jesus Christ had spoken very, very strongly to my heart, and like literally a bolt of lightning that pierced through the veil of time and eternity. All of a sudden, I was on our train, myself standing before God wearing blue and gray. And I was like, oh man. And in that moment, in a confused way, but still in a very clear way, I knew that I was called to stand before God in eternity as a missionary and as his bride. And so I said yes anyway. And here we are. Flash forward a couple of years, I become a servidora, received the veil, I have it. And there's a buzz going on around the convent in 2005 that the servidoras have received an invitation to found a mission in Greenland. That's what I'm explaining to you. We received an invitation to found a mission in Greenland, and the Mother Provincial had just returned from a visit with the Bishop of Denmark to Greenland to see what the area was like, and she said one thing to us at dinner that night. She said, "Sisters, the missionary who is sent to Greenland will have to be a woman of great faith." That was her comment on the mission in Greenland. And I was like, I need to be there. Those words rung in my ears, and I thought about the dark winter skies and that cold air. I mean, God sent me to Minnesota. That's like really cold. Those cold winds were blowing all the flames of my heart, and Mother then said there were only 80 Catholics in the entire island of Greenland. And I'm like, I gotta go. Like, we need sisters on that island for those 80 Catholics of Greenland. And so, my imagination was captured, and so was my heart, with that ideal of a mission to a faraway place for love of the Lord. So on the Feast of St. Cyril and Methodius, February 14th, actually was typing, I sat down at the computer and I wrote an email to our General Superior in Rome. We offer ourselves to missions when we feel called to offer ourselves. And I was only in my second year of religious life. I was like, I don't even think I turned 21 yet, because it's still my 20th year. And I was writing to Mother Anima Christi. I told her about my desires and I made my offering. Now, I should tell you, and then I waited for a response, the agonizing response. In that meantime, I should tell you that I have always felt very at home in religious life. Even though my vocation story has been very messy at times, and there have even been lots of moments that I've been very embarrassed of myself and just myself. I've always felt at home as a sister, because in my conscience, I hear and I see the voice of the Lord that tells me that I'm exactly where I need to be, despite my own personal messiness. Because I heard his will and was able to, by his grace, to respond 17 years ago. Since then, I have always been at peace that I am exactly where he wants me to be, even in those messy moments, or even in moments of silence. That silence broke when I got a response back from Mother Anima, maybe 2 months later, and I will never forget that email. And this is kind of the beginning message for my talk. In that, she said, "Thank you so much for my offering." She said, "Remember, dear Faith, you can't give what you don't have. Remember, dear Faith, you can't give what you don't have. Take advantage of every moment of your formation to receive what God is giving you. In your studies, in your apostolate, learn what it means to be a servidora, and then one day the mission will come for you too. You can't give what you don't have. Be patient, is what she was telling me. Wait for the Lord. But don't be inactive. Don't just sit on your laurels and wait for it to come to you. Mother's letter proved to be food for reflection for me that I would kind of return to over and over and over again for the rest of my formation and the rest of my religious words, receive what is being given to you. One day God will ask it of you. You can't give what you haven't received, Faith. You can't give what you haven't received. Of course, concretely, I had no idea really what those words meant at the time, or how deep that wisdom would guide me throughout the rest of my religious life. Now, that's like the beginning of my 20s. So the years that followed were a deep time of receiving for me, and this is actually, I never give testimonies ever. This is actually my first time, I think, ever giving a testimony. So, maybe that's not my vocation story, that's easier, but like actually talking about yourself, oh man. So like, yeah. Okay. Yeah, my 20s were a time of deep receiving. As religious life and my vocation restored God's image to my soul. Bit by bit, little by little. I had left, as all of us know, a competitive, superficial, self-seeking world. Competitive, superficial, self-seeking world. And suddenly found myself in a place, because Jesus had asked me to be there, where self-worth was not synonymous with success. For the first time in my life. I mean, I had really good Catholic friends. I mean, don't get me wrong. Beautiful, beautiful community before entering religious life. But it was my first time living in a society, in a group of women, in a structure where in no way self-worth was equated with success. That was very disarming. Like, very disarming. Yeah. This is where I said before that my religious life has often felt very messy and even embarrassing. Because although I was exactly where the Lord wanted me to be, my lungs were not yet ready to take in the pure oxygen of Jesus Christ. It was a little too much. I had been smoking. Yeah, my lungs were like, oh, this is a little too pure. You're not ready. And that's because for so many years, and I hope this is relatable, I had filled the void of my own insecurity with the praise of others. Whether that other was a teacher, or a mentor, or a man, or anyone who would assure me that I was good enough, and that my performance at least, like maybe they didn't know who I was, and so they weren't judging me, but at least if they could judge that my performance was good enough, it would be okay. Yeah. At that time, I'm already in religious life, I had no idea how much the pain of my past life had left me craving for attention, craving affirmation, craving acknowledgement. Attention, affirmation, and acknowledgement. When my Catholic parents separated when I was 12 years old and spent 6 years battling out a very ugly divorce in court, I was the oldest of 5 children, and which eventually ended in the annulment of their marriage. Thanks be to God, they both continue to practice their faith daily. I'm so grateful for that. I reacted very differently from my 4 younger siblings, who sadly, and this was also difficult, some of them turned to drugs, others turned to or fell into a battle with depression and anxiety. Some struggled with suicidal ideation. For whatever reason, I turned towards a different path. And my naturally strong will and my resilience, because I have always kind of been like, I don't know, I don't mean to sound like a ball of sunshine, but I just kind of like always feel like a ball of sunshine in my life. We can do this, like, you know. That was a natural gift that God had given me, and I leaned on that natural gift a lot in the moment of greatest suffering for my teenage years. And I knew that, well, at least I thought I knew that with this life vest of my resilience and my self-will, that I could survive the destruction of my family by carving out my own path in life. Right? I still, as humans, we always have, hopefully, that deep sense of freedom and personal agency. Sometimes we lean into it a little too hard. Or we lean into it alone. Unfortunately, that I became very good at lying to myself. Because if I could lie to myself, then the lies I was telling other people didn't sound like lies. Because I told them, yeah, I'm fine. Totally under control. Oh yes. Senior in high school, doing all my applications by myself. Oh yeah, I'm gonna apply to George. Yeah, George Washington. Yes. I don't think I did any homework this year, but I'm gonna try anyway. Like all sorts of lies that I could confidently, in my Catholic conscience, tell other people because I believed them already, or I made myself believe them. Right, so that I could at least be at peace with how I was managing the crisis that was going on in my life. I was fine. I could handle this. My soul rebelled against the chaos of my parents' failed marriage as I sought to assert myself in any way possible. I don't say this because I think all of you have your own stories. Again, I'm not used to sharing my own story actually at all. But I do think this is an important point, especially for all of you who are called to accompany young people, that those who are most rebellious, it could just be because they need to assert themselves in the chaos of their world, but they're not living according to their conscience. They know better. They probably hate themselves even more because of the rebellion they feel. So, my soul was in a state of rebellion, and I, who was naturally gifted by God, whom I loved my whole life, really, from a very young age, I was aware of God's presence and loved Him with my whole heart, mind, soul, and strength. He had given me a deep sense of honesty since I was a child, and for the first time in my life, I became two-faced. And so then what was the lie that happened after that? The lie after that was I was disgusted with myself because deep down, I knew that it was a lie, that the way I was reacting to this, that I wasn't okay, that I wasn't strong enough. But even deeper than that, and I didn't realize this at the time, looking back, I didn't say more confidently, I was deeply afraid of rejection. Deeply afraid of rejection. Statistically, probably some of you have struggled with divorce. I mean, there's a good chance 50% of the women in this room have divorced parents, or have been through a divorce, or know someone. So that's one of the immediate consequences, which I don't think divorced children and divorced parents realize right away, is that we have been rejected on some level by our parents. It's just kind of the reality of they've chosen something that we don't understand over loving us as a unified family. We don't mean to think about it that way. It might not even be the truth, but that's the emotional consequence in the heart of a child. This is the best part of the story. The best part is that this was who I was when Jesus called me. To be His spouse. I was a mess. I didn't look like a mess on the outside. I mean, I got accepted to religious life. It was just God's grace. I don't know. I don't think I did my hair very well, but no, anyway. But the truth was that that's who I was when Jesus called me to be His spouse. When Jesus revealed His will to my heart. Can you believe that? I look back and I'm kind of wow, okay. I was 19 years old. I did not have life figured out at all, let alone myself figured out. I mean, all of this that I just so clearly and coherently told you in 5 minutes has taken me 15 years to unpack and embrace and whatever else that was. I'm so grateful for, I love God a lot. Much less than myself figured out. I did have myself figured out. And yet Jesus' voice was the only voice that could reach that place in my soul where I felt so alone. I don't know, but I think we must all have that place somewhere where we're alone. I think it's called the depths of our conscience. I think we've all been there. If you've never been there, I suggest you try to go there. It's really beautiful. It's the deepest part reached him. During the chaos of my parents' divorce and my own terrible decision-making, his gaze never departed from me. Jesus' gaze never departed from me, and I'm so grateful for that. His eyes rested on my heart, and though at times his gaze made me very uncomfortable, that gaze eventually pulled me off a path of self-destruction and set my sights on heaven. Faith, you can't give what you don't have. Whatever our vocation is, we can be sure as women that it entails making a total gift of ourselves to God through our neighbor. A total gift of ourselves to God through our neighbor. Not my thoughts, words of Jesus to St. Catherine of Siena. But we cannot give what we do not have. We must receive the gift from God's hands before we can give it away. For as St. Paul says to the Corinthians, what do you possess that you have not received? And David sings in Psalm 139, and yes, I'm going to read the whole first half of the song because it's so beautiful. Lord, you search me and you know me. You know when I sit and stand. You understand my thoughts from afar. You sift through my travels and my rest. All my ways are open to you. Even before a word is on my lips, you know it, Lord, through and through. Behind and before you encircle me and rest your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, far too lofty for me to reach. Where can I go from your spirit? From your presence, where can I flee? If I ascend to the heavens, you are there. If I lie down in the depths of the netherworld, there you are. If I take the wings of the dawn and dwell beyond the sea, even there your hand guides me. Your right hand holds me fast. If I say, surely darkness shall hide me, and night shall be my light. Darkness is not dark for you, and night shines as the day. You formed my inmost being. You knit me in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am wonderfully made. I'm crying. Wonderful are your works, my very self you know. You are wonderfully made. God's love is so terrible. It's so terribly great. The church teaches us, and by faith we believe, that every spiritual and immortal soul is created immediately by God. Every spiritual and immortal soul is created immediately by God. Even yours did. By creating my spiritual immortal soul, God has chosen me irrevocably. It's a beautiful word, irrevocably. It means he can't turn back on it. By creating you, God has chosen you irrevocably and willed me for eternity. Am I aware that just by the fact that I am necessary in God's plan? That's a metaphysical reality. It's very, very deep and hard to comprehend. He wills you to be, and because you are a spiritual being, you are necessary. There's no change for you. You will be. That will not change. Do I see my life in this light? And this light of God's choice under the arch of the Father's gaze? God's irrevocable choice is in fact the foundation of our existence, the foundation of our very being. It needs to be the foundation of our conversion, the foundation of our daily conversion, the foundation of our daily journey. The human person, this is the words of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, the human person is the only creature on earth that God has willed for its own sake. Called to share by knowledge and by love in God's own life, it was for this end that the human person was created, and this is the fundamental reason for his or her dignity: to love and to know God for eternity. pleasure. Like, do you guys, like, he created us to enjoy him forever. That's it. I doubt this is the first time that any of us have heard this truth. I mean, I feel like I'm like kind of reaching to the lawyer. Like, that was kind of to me. I'm like, I don't know if I can speak about human dignity to people that have probably studied a lot more about this. But anyway, but I asked myself, and this is what I asked myself, okay, if we're all, this is a group of Catholic women, and if there are any non-Catholics here, welcome, so nice to have you. Why is it so hard for women to receive this message? Why is it so hard for us? Why do we have to keep coming back to the message of the gift? Why? Why do we have to reread theology of the body 100 times with 100 different interpretations? Like, it's not the same thing again. And this is the point I really want to hit home on. Okay, you are a good gift because you have been created in the image and likeness of God, an irrevocable choice of God the Father, willed by love, for love, eternally. But to receive the concrete gift of who you are is not something that you can do abstractly. Receiving the concrete gift of who you are isn't something you do one time as an idea, like, oh, do I receive the gift of who I am? Yes, I receive the gift of who I am. Okay, done, check, move on. I got a mission now, got it all figured out. No, you have to receive the gift you are from God today, right now, in this moment, as you are. However you find yourself, with whatever imperfections, whatever vices, whatever weaknesses, whatever failures, whatever struggles, whatever doubts you might be wrestling with, whatever temptations that you are facing that nobody else knows you're facing right now. No matter what you have lived, no matter what you have suffered, no matter what you have chosen in the past, no matter who your parents are, or who your siblings are, or who your boss is, who your boss has been, it doesn't matter. You need to receive the gift of you today. God doesn't make mistakes. We make mistakes. But nothing falls outside of His providence. Nothing falls outside of God's providence, outside of His love. Is there any part of me, any part of my life or my past that I exclude from God's merciful gaze? That I might not be willing to accept as part of His gift, His plan? Is there a part that I refuse to acknowledge, that I refuse to give or surrender to His love? Do I still reject my own weakness? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Don't reject. Embrace. Yeah, embrace. It's way better. Do I still reject? At least you'll be happier. Can I just tell you, like, if you want to laugh more, embrace who you are. It's like the best freedom ever. Okay. Do I still reject my own weakness? Do I still reject the fact that I was born with the wound of original sin? Sorry, my name is Mary, Mother of Faith. That's my religious life name, and so I love going back to the main truths of our faith. I find that oftentimes when we're lost and confused, it's because we're not adopting a vision of faith over our lives. We forget, oh, original sin. I had that before baptism, and it left me with concupiscence, which means I actually am inclined to sin. It's like there's a tendency in my flesh and in my human soul that is weak and wounded. Yeah, do I acknowledge the fact that I do carry the wound of original sin? That's a big deal, and God knows that, and He knows you. In fact, He has so much compassion on your weakness and on your original wound that He gave His only begotten Son, so that anyone who believed in Him might not perish but have eternal life. Oh, happy fault. Oh, happy fault. You guys know we're in the middle of the Easter season, and on Easter night, the entire church sang these words: "O truly necessary sin of Adam, destroyed completely by the death of Christ. Oh, happy fault that earned so great and so glorious a Redeemer. The sin of Adam was necessary so that it could be destroyed by the death of Christ. Adam's fault is happy because it necessitated Christ's redemption. The church's words, not my words. Oh, happy fault. If the church can sing that about the sin of Adam and Eve, which brought death and sickness and suffering into the world, if on Easter night the church can sing, oh, happy fault, which is the equivalent of saying, like, oh, blessed sin. It's like you hear it, you're kind of like, that goes against all imperfectionism. Like, God calls us to be perfect. No, He calls us to perfect charity. Not perfection, perfect charity. Oh, truly necessary sin of Adam. Oh, happy fault. Why? Because that happy fault earned, merited, called down so great a Redeemer. The happy fault called Christ down to earth. Why can't we sing of ourselves? Oh, happy fault. Oh, happy fault that necessitated the presence of Christ in my life. Receiving the gift that I am today means leaning into this happy fault, not because it's the happy fault, but because I need to lean into the Redeemer. Because that happy fault makes way for the redemption and the mercy of Christ in my heart. Receiving the gift that I am today means leaning into my identity and who I am in God's eyes. Beloved, chosen, daughter of the Father, sister and soulmate to God the Son, friend and co-worker with God the Holy Spirit in His work of sanctification. Letting that truth and love be the foundation of my conversion, the foundation of my choices, the foundation of my desires, and ultimately the foundation of my patience as God works out His mysterious plan in me. Patience. God needs women open to the power of redemption. Women who through a life of patient prayer and fidelity to the sacraments make their first priority to live under the gaze of the Father and to sit quietly in the burning furnace of the heart of Jesus. That is what it means to seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and everything else will be given you besides. I promise. Receive the gift that you are, with all its messiness, with all its potential, and with all its responsibility. Because Christ didn't become incarnate for love of your ideal. Christ did not become incarnate for love of your ideal, or for love of your plan, or for love of whatever that image is that you hold out there. Christ became incarnate for love of you, reality, here, now. And yes, the consequence of living this way and of truly seeking first the kingdom of God under the gaze of the Father in union with the Son as a co-worker with the Holy Spirit, that will make us the insane women of the world. You are going to look crazy. You know why you're going to look crazy? You're going to look crazy. Leah Jacobson, if you're here already, where are you? You're going to look crazy because you're going to build 1,000 times over. You're going to build whatever you see in the moment God's asking you to build. And the world might tear it down. The world might tear it down 1,000 times over. But you know why the world's going to think you're crazy? One, because you keep building. But two, because you don't lose your peace. Because no matter how many times the world will tear down whatever that project is and whatever that plan is, you will keep your joy. Because you weren't building for success. You were building for sanctity. It's different. And what God builds, no man can destroy. That is the beauty of the Catholic woman. She builds the soul. She builds up the soul. But first, because she's allowed God to take possession of her soul. And she's received the gift of who she is in his eyes. With all of her weaknesses, all of her imperfections. And in fact, despite them, because it makes the devil angry. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So just to conclude, we can trust this intention that all of us will be able to come before the presence of God and understand who we are in his eyes and what we're destined for. We entrust this intention to Our Lady, who teaches us how to receive the gift of who we are. Mary stood at the foot of the cross. She stood. But that standing was the fruit of an action she had completed many, many years before when she was just a young girl. When she bowed her head and she received. Standing before the most immense, the most overwhelming, the most mysterious gift that God asked her to receive. Mother, will you receive the gift of my son? Will you receive the gift of the church? Will you be a mother to every human soul? She bowed her head and said, may it be done unto me according to your word. So we ask that in her heart we might be able to do the same. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to your protection, implored your help, or sought your intercession, was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, we fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my Mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. Mary, cause of our joy, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.